company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Christian Taylor Wilkinson, the Chief Exec of Altona Rare Earths, joins us today following news on the acquisition of the Chambe Rare Earths project. Now, when we last spoke, Christian, which was only a week ago, you mentioned you were hopeful to complete this soon, and today you've announced it's complete. So clearly all parties were happy with the terms, and Altona have another rare earth project on the books. So what's your initial reaction? What can you tell us?
Morning, Mark, Leslie. This is significant. This is the first deal we entered into when we first started looking at a different approach to mining, because we had these coal assets in Australia for so many years. And we started looking at the beginning of 2020 in which direction we should go, if we should continue in mining. Rare earths always kept coming up, the global demand for it, the green angle to it, the environmental angle to it. So this was important for us. And one of the things that shareholders asked me to do when I came on the board in 2019 was, due to the history of Altona of exploring a project for 15 years and never actually doing anything, they said, look, if you continue in mining, the key for this is to actually take a project to production, or certainly try to take it to production. And looking at the two sides of the rare earth, the two basic sides of the rare earth sector, the carbonatites, the hard rocks, which could take 10, 15 years, and many hundreds of millions of pounds to put into production, versus ionic clays, which is the predominance you find in China, which is why China have got such a large portion of the marketplace. It's the ionic clay projects where the rare earths sit in soil and clay, usually sort of quite shallow, 10, 15, 20 meters, that sort of thing, on a bed of rock, but they're suspended in this clay. So to get them out, the leaching process is simple. And it means that you can explore quicker because the drilling techniques are more basic, and you can discover and analyze what you have and whether the project is economically viable, and if so, probably within under 3 years you could look to move into production. That's the sort of target we wanted, which is why when this project was offered to us in July 2020, it was the first one we pounced on. It's taken just over a year, of course, to get to where we are. But it's key. Whilst we're very happy with Monte Mwambe, because that's probably going to be a larger resource, but it will take longer and more money to get to. This, for Altona, for where we are at the moment, is absolutely fantastic. So I'm really pleased to have it. I think it's worth saying as well that in the UK there are a few listed rare earth companies, and they've all got carbonatite projects. So we're the only UK listed company with an ionic clay project now. The other one, if people want to go look at, is an Australian listed company called Ionic Rare Earths Limited. They've gone through exploration within sort of 2 years. They're not even going to put together a bankable feasibility study. They're going to go straight to production next year. So this is how quick it can be done if you see the resource is worth it. There's such a demand in the world at the moment. And the last thing on this is that, rare earths, there's 17 of them in the periodic table. You've got the light ones on this way, which is sort of praseodymium and neodymium, and on the other side you've got the heavy rare earths, which aren't necessarily used in the sort of the key industries, which are the permanent magnets, the motors for the electric vehicles and the wind turbines. Recent reports saying that China is going to run out of these heavy rare earths by 2028, so there will be a global demand outside of China. And I think this is one of the reasons why this Australian company is looking to move into production quicker. So if we can supply a small part of that market, fantastic. But then looking at some of the research done and some of the results and analysis done on this project, there are also fairly good traces of things like neodymium and praseodymium in the soil. So it looks like this project is the formation is a classic ionic clay project, but it looks like it's also containing rare earths that are normally found in carbonatite. So until we start exploring more, we don't know for sure. But on analysis, on review of early analysis, it seems to be potentially significant. Let's say that.
Okay. So that's interesting. So you can actually get this into production fairly quickly, and due to the nature, it's like it's much more of a softer. It's in a clay, so it's easier to extract. Is that the crux of it?
That's the crux of it. And the other thing as well, carbonisite projects or carbonisite formations are well known for containing radioactive material, thorium and uranium. And some processing facilities won't take bulk ore which have radioactivity materials in them. But the difference with ionic clays, they are commonly, traditionally, and this is proven at Chambe already, that the radioactivity levels, materials that carry radioactivity are absolute minimum, like trace amounts or nothing at all. So we would therefore have a wider selection of processing facilities should we go to production and store, should we need to find where to send it. Unless, of course, we set up our own processing facility if we're feeling wealthy in the time.
So, of course, Altona have got both. They've got ionic clay now and carbonatite project. Is it good to have a mix of both?
I think so. What we're trying to do here is form a continuous, exciting sort of stream of news. I know that where shareholders, specifically the retail shareholders, they get bogged down or despondent is when a company doesn't produce any news for 6-month period or 4-month period. So that was on my mind when we started putting the strategy together. I would like to get Altona to buy or acquire maybe 1 or 2 more projects. So there's always something happening. If a government in Africa, whatever, decides to shut us down, or if it's a really long exploration program which takes 9 months and there's just no news, we have other projects which can feed news into the marketplace. So there's always something going on. And I've always said that this is going to be quite a burden for us, Altona, but we're prepared to take on that burden. So investors, have the risk removed from the share price. I guess that's what we're trying to achieve here. So we have a slow, expensive, but potentially very valuable project in Mwambe, and a quicker, less expensive, but probably less lucrative project in Chambe. And then I don't know what the 3rd or 4th projects will be. We'll see what's going on. There are some on the market in Africa, but also we are looking at areas which are known to be rare earth bearing. The geology sort of shows that, and these projects or these areas haven't been claimed by any company yet. So I would like to at least get 1 new license in Altona's name rather than having to do a joint venture agreement with somebody. It will give us sort of maybe more freedom to do what we want to do it in our own way.
Okay. The RNS mentioned that the license is valid until September 2024, and it also sets out a 4-phase work program all the way to development of a mining facility. And as you just mentioned, it can actually happen fairly quickly. So is there a view here to progress all the way to a mine, and have you planned the journey towards that with key milestones along the way?
Yeah, so over the last 12 months, talking with Axbury Mineral Resources, who owned the license, they've been doing a lot of work on our behalf or on behalf of the project. A lot of environmental work, work with the Forestry Commission, work with the local villages and the elders there. And they have work plans and budgets all the way up to the development of a mining facility, building a village, building a processing plant, so that in theory is there. We obviously need to now review it, and we need to put our own experience into it and find out what the answer would be. For example, going back to Ionic Rare Earth Limited, they've announced that to the production phase, I think they're looking to raise something like 89 million Aussie dollars, which is probably about 50 million pounds, is this something like that? I don't know. Which is a lot more expensive than we thought. We thought it was going to be about sort of 10 or 12 million pounds. But different projects, different sizes. So that's what we'll be working on in the next 6 months. Whilst we start this orientation phase, which we're hoping to begin at the beginning of November, Monsieur Simonet will be going to Malawi right at the start of November. And so we have now a 2-week period to try and get the team in place, find a geologist. We're going to start a CPR, competent persons report, which we mentioned in the second RNS which we released this morning. So we have 2 weeks to get everything in place, on site. The rainy seasons in Malawi, like in Mozambique, start at the end of November. So we can get sort of 25 days of drilling. This orientation program is only a minimum of 9 holes. And there's 3 areas. There's Chambe, which is the main basin, and then there's 2 extra spurs down, because this license area is quite significant. We say in the RNS it's 128 square kilometers, so it's massive as well. So we've got 3 specific areas we're going to look at. And if we can get that nailed in November, then we'll have something to send off to the lab to analyze. So when the rainy season's finished, we'll know what we have. We'll be able to report something to shareholders, which I think is important, because currently Altona's share price is valued on a whim, I suppose. We have these assets, but we have no valuation to these assets. So as soon as we get a resource estimate out from Mwambe, hopefully by next March, and Chambe again by next March, we'll then be able to have some sort of indication in the market of what these 2 projects are worth. Okay. And therefore, there'll be a natural target for the share price to aim at.
Okay, good. Well, just talking on the valuation of the share price of the company, of course, a key part of that is the listing that's due to happen on the main market of the London Stock Exchange. This, of course, has been delayed a little bit now because of the prospectus has changed. It's as simple as that, is it?
It's as simple as that. So I thought it was necessary to put out the second RNS this morning. I don't think we have to do it, but I didn't want people to sort of scratch their heads and wonder. The part of the process is you have to put all the information about any projects you own. And if it's a mining company, you've got to put in a competent persons report. That will take about 6 weeks to produce. We have to do it. What shareholders need to understand is that to have delayed this acquisition until we'd listed on Standard would have probably meant we'd have lost this deal, which was not an option. So I would prefer to delay the listing by however long it takes now, a couple of months, let's say, at the least, because we'll put all the other information in the prospectus to get this deal. This deal is that good. Aquis isn't a terrible market. I'm sorry I said that, because it's not true. Aquis is a great market for small companies. We've raised a couple of £1 million on Aquis. People do trade the shares. There's a little liquidity issue, but that's basically it. But I think it's worth saying, in parallel to this as well, we're now about to start speaking to potential nomads. So we're looking also at an alternative AIM route as well. We have to look at all the options available to us. You may know this, that the LSE standard is changing its rules, probably introduced at some point next year. There's going to be a minimum sort of 50 million market cap. They're trying to stop shell companies, cash shells of like £4 or £5 million listing. It's not what they wanted to do anymore. Altona is not a cash shell. We have 2 assets. We're an operating company, but still on listing, our market cap is only about £5 or £6 million. So we could be the last of the small microcaps to come onto Standard. And I'm just wondering at the moment, and talking to the board about it, we had some meetings yesterday, whether or not it would be good to be one of the smallest last people to come onto Standard, or maybe we should look at AIM, which obviously is more geared to high fundraisings for small, quick growth companies. So it wasn't something we wanted to do before, but maybe now is the time to have a look at that.
Okay.
I'll pursue both routes.
Okay, super. Well, thank you very much, Christian Taylor-Wilkinson, the Chief Exec of Altona Rare Earths, for giving us that update today.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.